So welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here and to be able to give you the 7 secrets to actually grow your business in today's economy. And I'm just going to pick the screen to share some things with you. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to put them down. I may not see them as I'm speaking, but one thing I'd love you to do is just write down in the chat bar what it is you do, what business you're in, as I will do my best to tailor this presentation to you to make sure you get the most out of it. And 7 secrets to grow your business in today's economy really started out as understanding that there are a lot of challenges out there, and people, now that we're in different economies, don't know how to actually navigate it. So I'm going to give you some of the tools, resources, and skills that are necessary. I encourage you to take out a piece of pen and a paper, draw a line down the middle on the left, put all the actionable steps that you'll be able to take when we're done with this presentation. On the right, put what that will be worth to you. I promise you it'll be worth millions, at least it was to me and to my clients, and I'll give you that information. I am learning how to use Remo right now, and as I'm learning how to do it, I just realized that it is not letting me advance my slides. So as you bear with me for one moment, I will figure out what that looks like to make that happen. And so I can do that. Okay, so here we go. So here's what we need to know is, in order to actually build your business in today's economy, it is super important that you think about things differently. If what you were doing before is no longer working, there's a reason for it. We are in a winter economy, and what that means is people are doing things differently. People are still spending money, they're just not spending it the same way. 93% of the gross domestic product of money being spent is still being spent, it's just being spent differently. There's a scarcity mindset in a winter economy. People are worried about hibernating, storing for the winter, and wondering if there'll be the next season. In that kind of mindset, people are looking for more guarantees, and a conversation we have with them really needs to change. In doing that, the challenge is that businesses today is that you can have the greatest product and service and no one's buying it. You can also be spending money on social media, Facebook, and all the other stuff and not getting results. You can also be going live on social media and hope that people will see you without a real audience and know that you need a following. Or you can just be looking at the chart and wondering, what is it I need to do right now, and how do I respond to the economy? You know, what's happening today reminds me of what happened to myself and my husband 19 years ago. We were in a situation not very different than COVID, where we were financially, everything was going great, business was wonderful, so to speak, life was good, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And for us, it was actually a situation where the rug was pulled out from underneath us. I had worked for a company called MCI. MCI became WorldCom, and they went bankrupt. If you're old enough to know the story, they went bankrupt. And because I had worked with them decades ago, my 401k, my employee stock options, all this stuff ended up going to the wayside. So we went from prosperity to desperation overnight, trying to figure out what is it we need to do? How are we going to get out of this? And not long after that happened, within 2 years, we had 9/11. And say yes in the chat if you remember, if you were around for remembering what happened to a lot of people during 9/11, where there were so many people displaced. Thanks, Robert. There were so many people displaced that all of a sudden you're out there thinking, you know, everything's okay. And a lot of positions got let go and downsized because a lot of businesses realized we can get employees at 10 cents on the dollar. Why should we pay full price, get rid of consultants, hire other people? And a whole industry changed. You know, when I was speaking with Nina before we started, she said she used to work for the Yellow Pages or Yellow Book. Like, what is that today, right? It used to be a big book we'd sit on and we get hired on a chair. And today, because of the internet, it's not even there anymore. So when you think about that, things have changed. And how have things changed? And for us back then, we really had to transition and change the way we did business. And we had to look at what we were doing in business, quite honestly, because I was retired. I was a millionaire at 30, and I kind of say a pauper at 40. I did everything right, worked really hard and everything, and then all of a sudden lost it. Well, it's kind of like where are some businesses today? So back 19 years ago, actually 17 years ago when we had to make the decision, I looked at the business and said, what is it we can do and how are we going to do that? And what needs to happen to be able to get out of this mess? And what I realized that I actually had a formula that every business I'd ever started in my past made 6 figures, and multiple businesses make 7. And there were some things specifically that needed to happen to do that. And it was at that time that I actually said to my husband, we'll do whatever it takes never to be in this situation again. And what was it? And what I figured it out to be was what I actually call Mastery to Millions. And it's the 7 secrets to grow your business in today's economy. And it has everything to do with, number one, mindset, about how you show up. And second is massive action, knowing what specifically to take action with, modeling success, not trying to reproduce something that doesn't exist, but find something that's working and do what that is, measuring what you're doing so that you have a metrics that you can work with, managing it, not necessarily yourself, but knowing what to automate, delegate, or eliminate, marketing and innovation, which is what everybody needs right now. You might want to write that down. It's one of the most important things you do need. And masterminding, and that's what you do, being part of the chamber or any other organization where you can collectively get together and support each other. But what I found is that the most important out of all these is mindset. And it's the first thing that you need to do, and sometimes the last thing people pay attention to. In the time together, I'm going to actually cover the first 3, and then I'm going to actually show you how to get the rest at the end with the time we have together. If you'd like a copy of the PowerPoint, you can just text 90210, the word find to fab, and I'll be giving away some free gifts. So you can just put that in, just take a quick snapshot, and you'll also have an opportunity to win my book, Brand You, Become the Expert. So let's talk about mindset. Well, mindset is really understanding what's the chokehold in your business, whether you're self-employed, working for someone, whatever the case is, that we know that your income is proportionate to your beliefs. It's in direct proportion, as a matter of fact. And if you look at the word belief, there's a word in the middle of it. Put in the chat what the word is. What's the word in the middle of the word beliefs? We have found that you actually create your own reality, and what stops you from taking action, yes, Laura, is the word lie, is the lies we tell ourselves. If we tell ourselves that the economy is bad, we can't be doing business, or everybody's giving away, we will not do business and we'll be right. If we tell ourselves that we can, we'll be right also. Success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics and skills. And the most important project you're going to work on is yourself. Now you're saying, Lisa, I didn't come here to hear this. I want to know how to build my business. I'm going to show you how to build a business to multiple 6 and 7 figures, and not just have I done it. I'm going to show you people who've done it just like you. And when you realize that, you get away from worried about failure or perfectionism, even people afraid of success. If I'm successful, I have to top myself, but eliminate the distractions and the expectations and start creating something that moves you away from the fear. Right now, we've had more people concerned in the world of fear, of loss, the past, the unknown, failure, making a mistake. I always say never seek advice from your fears. They're destructive, So I think that's important. But here's what I want you to look at. This is a business crisis trend. This is what happened to us when COVID hit, the pandemic. At the very beginning, there was a shock of what we need to do, and some people just responded in inactivity. Do nothing. I don't know what to do. Just do that. And that could be the worst thing ever. And I saw a lot of businesses do that, literally are at the breaking point of even seeing if they're sustainable to stay in business. The second stage is desperation, stampede, overreact. What am I going to do? The third is evaluation or stagnation, which is sometimes making wrong decisions, wrong actions. The fourth is a deliberate action, where strategic rebound. A lot of people are either in the evaluation stage still, believe it or not, this far into it, or a deliberate action stage. And then we get into surge, burst, preparedness, opportunity, and business continuance. Key behaviors for success, according to Harvard Business Review, is to decide, adapt, deliver, and engage. Again, decide, adapt, deliver, and engage. But what we found is a lot of people didn't know what to do when this hit. And if you were one of those people, just put in the chat, yes. It was like, okay, how do I respond to this? How do I get my name out? Should I still be doing this? People out of work, I'm afraid to put myself out there. People are going to think bad of me, or should I be worried about everybody else? But I need to be putting food on the table. But if you actually felt like you needed to know what to do, even an indecision, write yes in the box that if you felt you were in that point. See, what happens is in a winter economy, most people turn around and they start discounting their services, and they actually put themselves out of business because now they can't even sustain the cost of doing business. Or they react by not doing anything, which is even worse because now people don't know you're there, and when it's time to do business, they don't know you're there. The truth is 560,000 businesses open up every year and 530,000 actually close every year. Knowing this, you need to know that what we're in now is a recession, and we've experienced 47 of them since 1790. So we're not in something new, it's how we're responding to it that's new. But here's the good news, and there is good news. There was a study by Kauffman Foundation that said more than half of the companies in 2009 Fortune 500 list were launched in a recession. What that means to me is that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to actually thrive. Companies like IBM, General Motors, Disney, Toll House, Burger King, Microsoft, CNN, and Apple all started in a recession. So it comes to the point of how you're seeing your business. This is an opportunity, whether you know it or not, and everything is psychology of what you do, why you do it, and the need you're filling. You want to be a raving fan of your business. And for yourself, you really want to love your products so much in service of what it does and how it helps people that you feel bad if you don't share it with others. But there's a big challenge, is this called marketing myopia. Everybody's holding a sign saying, I'm ABC company. If you're in insurance, Robert, there are other people in insurance. If you're in personal development, Laura, there's other people in personal development, right? Same thing, Nina, in marketing, there are other people in marketing. Well, how do we actually differentiate ourselves so that people actually see you as being different? Most businesses suffer from what they call today as marketing myopia, where we're focusing on products rather than customers. And when we start really paying attention to what the customer wants and needs and sell to that sweet point, then we actually differentiate ourselves, and our sign changes to your solution versus I'm the same as everybody else. And most people don't know how to do that. So what business are you in is from the perspective of the customer's needs and wants and how to fill it. So if I turned around and I said, do you want a shovel? You're going to say, no, I don't want a shovel. Why would I want a shovel, Lisa? I don't need a shovel. Now I turn around and say, okay, there's 4 feet of snow. You can't get out the door. Do you want a shovel? Now I want the shovel, right? So what is it they need and want, and how do we service it to them, and how do we do it? The way to do that is to create your own personal unique brand, and it allows you to charge a premium, because now you're differentiating yourself from everybody else. You're selling a solution. You become a leader, an authority, somebody they trust, a genuine business that's not about just the product, but about the delivery and what it is in for them. It also helps you attract your ideal client, the people who need what you have. It gets you more referrals. You can charge a premium. Now, so critical when we do this is because of the fact that when you start doing that and you are the expert, you'll find yourself where people want to hear what you have to say. And this is me in Ocean City, Maryland, in front of 6,000 people, or North Carolina in front of several thousand, or in Miami in front of 25,000 people, where there comes a point when you become the expert. In my case, it's about marketing and strategies and knowing how to actually market yourself and lead the parade instead of following it, that people want to hear what you have to say. Well, how do you do that? You need to identify what the problem is and what people want so that you can be the solution that everybody goes to for that problem. I have a gift for you. Write this down. Brand You, Become the Expert. This is a book I just recently wrote with a business associate, and it's really about a step-by-step guide to building a personal unique brand where you can make more sales, more clients, more often. And I even go into how to sell to different personality styles so you can increase your sales 57-1. So Brand You, Become the Expert. I encourage you to check that out. Here's what we found is that if you are sitting there with any belief, a lie you tell yourself that is not fulfilling, I'm going to suggest you write down on a piece of paper right now what it is. And I'm going to ask you to do it rather quickly. Is what are the things that are getting in your way? Did you tell yourself there's no business right now? People aren't buying from us. I can't go out there and do that. This is too hard. The stuff with the kids is too crazy in the house. And now I'm a teacher and a father or a mother, and whatever the case is. Or, did you make other excuses of how you couldn't do things because of it? Whatever your case is, anything you set up is true. Know that 55% of your beliefs are formed by the time you're 5 years old by well-meaning teachers, preachers, guardians, and parents. The other 45% were built on a shaky foundation, to say the least. So if you're telling yourself you can't do something, I want you to know you're right. And if you're telling yourself you can, you're right. So I encourage you, if you're going to lie, tell yourself something that's going to serve you, not something that's going to stop you. When you set your goals right now, I want you to write down a number, and just in the chat, tell me when you're done. Write down a number of how much money you want to make between now and the end of the year. You have 6 months. How much more money? Actually, did I say 6 months? It's September, it's October, November, December, 3 months, next quarter, and then what you want to make for next year. So you have 3 months. What kind of revenue can you generate in the next 3 months? And if you have a number and you just did one that you already had, I want you to just double it. You're going to say, Lisa, how can you double it? I'm just going to ask you to double it. Write down yes when you've done it, right? Right. Actually, David, during the recession, Ralph Lauren did have to raise prices because here's what they ended up finding is that if you decrease the prices, you went out of business. You have to raise the prices, otherwise you're going to end up, you'll be the one out too. So yes, but the idea, write down a number of how much you want to make in the next 3 months, and then double the number if you already had it, and make a number now that's a little aggressive, one you wouldn't have expected to do. And then here's what I want you to do. Start seeing your goal, seeing it happen as if it already happened, not like, oh, I hope it's going to be there. Do not concern yourself with how you're going to do it, just more important about what you want. There's a very big difference. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real or vividly imagined. If you tell yourself something often enough, it'll believe it's true. If that's the case, if you tell yourself that you're going to get something, do you know what your mind does when you go to sleep? It actually looks for solutions to give it to you. So if that sounds appealing to you, I'm going to encourage you to do it. The reason I told you before about COVID and reminding me about what happened just 19 years ago is when WorldCom went bankrupt, we had just put a fortune of money into our home. We put $250,000 in our backyard. We were very financially set. We thought that we were, I mean, literally, I thought I was so set that I had money put away for my grandkids' college. That's how set we were. And I'm thinking life is good. And all of a sudden it wasn't. And I turned around we went from what I call prosperity to desperation overnight. And one day I turned around and made a vision board. And you may say, really, she's talking about vision boards? Yes, I made a vision board. And I looked at it as being how I'm going to have endless vacations. We're going to have money again. It'll be under the mattress. Things will be okay. Everything will be back. And somebody else may have laughed at me, but within a couple of years of being $500,000 in debt and having to start over from being very comfortable, we ended up within 5 years removing all the debt. Within 7 years, we're putting money away again. And within a couple years after, we had more money than we lost. And what it was is we had to dream even bigger. So see the future in advance. It applies to every area of your life. So mindset is number one. And here's the deal. If you do not invest in you, there's nothing to go with. Sharon Lechter is an author of Think and Grow Rich for Women, Outwitting the Devil. Also, she wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. With Robert Kiyosaki. She's the co-author. And a personal friend of mine, I said to her, Sharon, today, where would you be investing? And she says, the place you need to invest today is in yourself. And I'm going to tell you, you need to invest in you. So being here is a sign of investing in you. And know that if you're not willing to invest in you, why would your customers? So I want to just always say investing in you is important. The secret in building a business today is about who you can help. Instead of saying, you know, I do personal development, I do this, I do that, or whatever the case is, start thinking about who you help. When somebody asks you, what do? I help what? I help people, you know, I help people bring in more revenue. I help people reduce operating expenses. I help people get better deals on their insurance. I help people have a better quality of life. What we want to do is, the secret is about making it about them, not about you. Even the I help is about what you do for them. The goal is to help other people get what they want, to build relationships. And the way you close more sales is you find people who are buying what you're selling. The one challenge I found with most business owners and entrepreneurs is that that people actually hate to be sold and they love to buy. So write in the chat if you're not a fan of sales. If you know, if you're like, oh, I'm not really a fan of sales. If that's true, put that in the chat. Okay. Not a fan. Thank you. So here was a really funny story. So we are selling all the time. So here's what I actually found. My husband was a computer programmer for PricewaterhouseCoopers, I told you. And it was very interesting. When he had lost his contract, he started working with me. And I went to a client, and with the client, they ended up saying they weren't interested in what we were offering. And my husband got in the car, he got so upset, and he says, I hate salespeople. And I was like, you hate salespeople? And I just looked over at him and I was like, why? Because I hate being rejected. I was like, they're not rejecting us. They're rejecting chocolate chip cookies. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Handsome. I call my husband Handsome. I said, Handsome, they don't know us well enough to reject us. They're rejecting what we're offering. They want an oatmeal raisin, but we offer chocolate chip. Well, the idea is you want to identify what your customers are buying and offer them what they're buying. And that's the piece that you want to get comfortable. It's about selling them what they want and giving them what they need and finding out what that in-between sweet spot is. See, people buy for emotional reasons and justify on logic. When you can find the sweet spot, you're going to actually get more clients. Now, there's 4 natural defenses you have to overcome with clients that most people aren't aware of. The first is they need to trust you. Well, if you're a referral, it's easier to get that trust, but if they don't know you, how do they develop that? There has to be a need, not just because they need it, but they have to want it as well. And there has to be that they want help. Because think about it, there's a lot of people that need your services, but until they want help, they're not going to do anything, right? And there has to be a sense of urgency, just like the shovel. You didn't want the shovel until you had to get out of the house and there was too much snow, right? So you want to overcome the 4 natural defenses. The biggest challenge is people sell based on their needs and beliefs. And what ends up happening is if you're a person where you value time over outcome, you're going to actually sell things on how fast it's going to be. If you're a person who's concerned about spending money, you're going to end up telling people and justify your prices with people. You want to understand that you want to listen to what your customers' needs are and sell them what they need. So this was all about mindset. And one of my clients came to me, has an amazing business. He's a franchisor. He sells his business in CrossFit. And he came to me because he had 4 months of clients coming through the door. 103 people walked in, and his sales team only made 7 sales, like less than 7% in closing. And I found out, like when I listened to him, he had the best business model I could imagine. Communication was awesome. There was never going to be a duplicate workout. It would always be unique. Not the cheapest place to go to, but the quality was insane. So he says, okay, Lisa, can you help me out and check it out? I decide to go in as a customer. And when I do, I realize it's the best workout I ever have. But the mindset that he has and how he described it to me and how he communicated to me was very different than his workers. And I walked in there and the experience was not what he would have given me. It was a very different one. And I came back with some feedback. I said, this is great, but here's the challenge. They're not communicating what it is. They didn't ask me what I wanted or needed. They didn't even, then when I was done, I said it was the best workout I ever had. And the person goes, do you think you'll come back? I said it was the best workout I ever had. So matter of fact, I think I lied. I never worked out because I've never worked out like this. It was amazing. We changed the structure of how they were communicating. We changed the mindset of his employees. The next 11 people came in. They enrolled 10 into the program. That was a 91% closing ratio. The average person stays with them for 5 years. That equated to $22,000 in revenue just on those people. The next 100 that come in potentially at the same odds is $213,000 in revenue, and they actually stay 5 years. That would bring them to $1 million in revenue. Look at the mindset of how your business is, not just with you, but everybody on the team, because everybody on the team is affecting it. You have a value chain. If you're passing the baton to the next person and they're not having that same mindset and the same story, you're losing money at the door. So you want to make sure you're making those decisions and you know what's happening. The second thing is taking massive action. It's not about doing a lot at once. It's about what you do every single day that brings you true wealth. And it's about result producing activities. So massive action is about creating a plan. And what I actually love my clients to do, and I suggest you do it as well if you're not doing it as a normal practice, is to create a 3-year plan and then work backwards. We always say start 3 years, go 2 years, 1 year, and then every month and every week. When you create a plan and forecast it, and if you think you can't make the plan now, I'm going to disagree with you, is that, again, you can conceive anything your mind can conceive. So you have that opportunity. But make a plan for what it is you want and then execute it with, of course, you've heard SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. But the other piece is knowing what's result producing activities and what to delegate and what to eliminate. So we found that in business, most businesses, the Pareto's principle, 20-80, 20% of your clients accounts for 80% of your revenue, 20% of what you do accounts for result producing, 80% is not. How do you figure out what ratio it is that 80% is now result producing versus 20? And what you do is put together on your calendar, start marking down everything you're doing on a daily basis. At the end of the week, circle all the things that can be delegated, cross out all the things that can be eliminated, and then make a mark for all the things that can be automated. You're going to find you can probably automate and outsource most of the things you're doing and spend your time doing what I call result producing activities that make the register ring ka-ching. And that's one of the things that can help you build your business massively right now. And then when you do, just like being here, conversations create cash. And one of the things I found is that when the internet came, I owned 4 businesses. 2 of them, every business we ever started did over 6 figures the first year. 2 of them do 7 figures. And what I found is people found the internet and they felt, okay, I have a box, I have the internet, I don't need to talk to people anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and share, I'm going to share online. I'm going to send messages. But they miss the fact that people still buy from people. So I always say, I tell all my clients, put something on your computer when you're sitting there staring at it, and remind yourself, conversations create cash. There's no replacement for it. And you want to be able to find how many conversations you can have. So I had a client just came to me, and she actually was thinking that she wasn't ready to invest in herself, and she was all concerned about it. She was out there using the box, like on the internet and everything else, putting out messaging, didn't have the right mindset, didn't have the right message, took different massive action. And I said, conversations create cash. Find ways to connect with people. We started changing her conversations and also increasing her connections, but connections with value, result producing, which was putting herself in front of her ideal client. Within 3 weeks, she made over $40,000 in revenue. Within 5 weeks, this is just 2 months ago, she did $72,000 in revenue. Now, this is during COVID. This is during the pandemic. I don't care what business you're in, you can be making money now. And if you're not, there's something going on with your mindset for sure, is my first belief. Or you're not having the right conversations with the right people, or we need to reposition the company and what you're offering. And there's a lot of people that had to do that right now. There were real challenges where some people are hurting, but that's where marketing and innovation come in, of knowing what you do at the core and how can you reposition yourself. One way to do it is to position yourself as well through OPP. Write that down. It's other people's people. Who do you know who? Who do you know who is like the most amazing thing you can do, and you're all in a chamber of commerce using networking, which is phenomenal, is finding out who knows your client, who has your client in their waiting room, and how often are you asking the quality questions to actually get that answer? Not just, hi, what do you do, but how do you support each other when you see somebody who you know is insurance to say, you know what, I know someone who needs your services. You need someone that does presentations on mindfulness, and you say, okay, you know what, I know someone who needs your services. Well, how often are you asking, not just telling them what you do, but asking them who they know? That's another piece to leverage yourself and to do that. And one of my clients ended up doing that. She came to me originally for one thing, for personal, and then we ended up helping her with her business. She had her own business for years and never made any substantial money. She's in the energy business. And she turned around and teaching her about other people's people. I said, where are your clients? She said, well, my clients happen to be in yoga studios. They're in spiritual places. They're at these little gyms and stuff. I said, okay, well, you need to go to these places and add value. How can you add value to them? What is it you need? Within doing that, part-time, working 15 to 20 hours a week, she made actually, she corrected me, it was $96,000 last year part-time. This year already, she's on track for 6 figures. During COVID, when everybody was giving it away for free, she calls me up. She says, how can I charge? People are giving it away. I said, you give, and ask. You can give for free, but then ask. In other words, give value and then ask. And she started doing that in July. She did $22,000 in sales. In the last 2.5 weeks, she did $15,000 in sales. This is during COVID. I'm just saying that because this is about taking massive action. I showed you that dip with the crisis. Is where are you in that, and what actions specifically are you taking to get out there? OPP is an important one. The other is to model success. And how do you do that? Is find people that are already doing it. I learned a long time ago, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to find someone who does. And one of the things I did is when I started my career, I worked with dozens and dozens of mentors. My first mentor happened to have been Tom Hopkins. If you're in real estate, you know who he is. He sold 365 houses in a year. No one's ever beat his record. And when I was working for IBM, they sent me to training. And then when I was working for MCI, they introduced me to Tom Hopkins. And I learned from Chet Holmes and Jay Abraham and Keith Cunningham. And I've been with Tony Robbins for 27 years. And what I learned is that you do not have to recreate the wheel. Everything's already been done. You just have to model someone who's already doing it. And that was the thing, is finding a proven system. And that's something that provides a model that will set you apart from any of the uncertainty that you can follow. And what I had found is I put together a proven system, because not only have I said every business I've started has actually net did six figures the first year and then multiplied thereafter, is I had put together a system specifically for, businesses and coaches to create signature programs and separate themselves from others, and found that when you actually have a proven system, just like I followed Tony Robbins for 27 years, or Keith Cunningham and Jay Abraham, one of the things I found in every business that they needed was confidence. And confidence was a missing ingredient. Confidence that the market's going to change, that there's an opposition for your business, that people need what you have. Confidence, as well as knowing who you're marketing to. If you're selling to everyone, no one's buying. You really need to get clarity. One of the challenges I found is a lot of people are thinking their ideal client is 30 to 65 years old. That's not an ideal client. That's like 2 million clients. You really need to get laser focused on who specifically it is, so you can speak to that person and they can hear what you're saying, not to be so general. Thinking you're going to be general to sell more people, you'll actually sell less. So getting laser focused, having a sensational soundbite, I'm going to teach you how to do that today. I want to make sure you walk away with that. And also a signature program is the difference between the difference. I don't care what business you're in, there's something that you do better than anybody else, and to create a model around it that you deliver something so you're not dealing with marketing myopia, and how to create the funnels and things to do that. So one of my clients came to me, and when she did, she's an efficiency expert. She helps businesses to actually scale their business and use outsourcing to be able to build their businesses. Literally took her idea, made it into a new business. She already owns a very successful multi-million-dollar business, another, in engineering, in electronics, and she has another business in a hair salon. She wanted another business. We literally put a program together for her, and her first talk she did, she actually got a client for $13,000. Within a couple of days, she sends me a message, I got the second one. Having a system that can help people succeed. What is it you do that can do that? I was super excited. I told you I've been with Tony for years. When I wrote my first book, Fine to Fab, Tony was excited. Somebody caught the picture of, oh, you said you were going to do it. I told him I was going to write the book. And what was really amazing about it is that Tony helped me 27 years ago when I was having some challenges, and I've been with him since. I'm a platinum partner of his. I'm also a trainer for him. And I decided to learn from everybody else he ever mentioned. And I did that. And these are some of the people that I've learned from, and not just learned from by books. I mean, went and learned from. You'll see me in pictures with them because I wanted to learn from the best. Well, where is other people's experience for you? Who are your mentors? Who do you need to be learning from? I think that's super important. And I'm going to share with you a quick little testimonial.
Maggie here. So about 2 years ago, I took the Tony Robbins online program called KBB, which is the Knowledge Business Broker Blueprint. And I finished.
Ooh, what's it doing?
But I got stuck because I guess you're supposed to figure it out after that on your own. So I'm so fortunate that I met Lisa. I met her at the E-Woman conference in Dallas, which I was a keynote speaker there, and we connected. I'm currently taking her platinum coaching, and I also took her online business program on how to build a business course. And let me tell you, the very first week after I was done with this program, I made $23,000. Lisa really, truly cares about her clients. She wants to see results. She will hold your hand. She will walk you through and through. And I'm just so blessed and so fortunate. Lisa, I am blessed by you, and I can't wait to be making more money with you. Thank you.
So one of the things that was great about Maggie is Maggie actually had a business where she went from orphanage to millionaire, and then sold her business to Campbell's for $231 million and gave all her money away and decided to start over. If you can imagine, that thing she just shared was just like a couple of months ago during COVID. Again, I don't know where you are in your mindset of your business, but I want you to know that business is still good and it can be even better. And we have opportunities here, and I want you to know that. What I'm going to share with you is a sensational soundbite. Take a picture of this if you haven't already. And this is actually how to actually differentiate yourself when someone says, what do you do? You might know the elevator pitch, but this is better. This is actually talking about typically you work with and identifying who your ideal client. Now, typically I work with successful entrepreneurs that have the challenge of being frustrated and overwhelmed with all that they need to do. I help them get what the advantage is, a proven business plan that create a multiple 6- and 7-figure business. What that means is they can save years of frustration and do what they love doing and not waste time. Who do you know who'd benefit from this? When you actually create a sensational soundbite, what you're doing is you're opening the door to actually be very specific of what you're doing. For my personal development, Laura, might be interest to you, is I have typically I work with successful women who are hurting themselves and self-sabotage. I help them go from feeling fine, which is how I used to feel, which was effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, to being fabulous, awesome, beautiful. What that means is they can avoid years of blame, shame, and therapy so they can live an authentic life, happy, healthy, and free. Who do you know who'd be interested in something like this? When you create a sensational soundbite for yourself, what you're actually doing is putting it out there so one, people know who they are, they can self-identify. I had used that other line at an event I was at. Women are saying, I'm at a women's event and they're saying, oh, I'm on TV, a host, I'm a myofascial massage person, I have a networking business, I have this and that. That was the line I gave them that I just shared. And I get up to have some tea and a woman comes over to me and goes, that's why I'm here to meet you. Well, I'm telling you this because it's so important. Just how do you stand out? How do you avoid the marketing myopia? And that's a key thing you want to do to differentiate yourself. So I encourage you to take a picture of this and create it for yourself as what it is you do. Then test it with people. If you say, who do you know, and they don't either self-identify or can recognize people to refer you to them, then you need to rework your sensational soundbite until it makes people say, yes, that's me, or I know someone you need to talk to. That's when you know you have a good soundbite. I talk about that more in the book too. So you want to work on yours and really figure out who it is. And know the fortunes in the follow-up with what you're doing. Statistically, it's showing that in order for us to get sales today, what used to take 7 touch points is taking 16. That means you're here, you're meeting people, connecting with them, and then maybe they need to see you again, or there's a text or an email, or they see something you post, or they watch a webinar, they see different things. What are you doing that actually is bringing in the business, and how are you continually to touching points? They actually had done studies that said most people actually quit after the 2nd. Most sales start at the 4th, but 80% of the sales start at the 8th to 12th touch point. So think about what your follow-up system is and how you're actually connecting with people, so where your fortune may be missed in the follow-up. Remember to always show up and add value and then have people pay for it. Give, and ask. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're leveraging social media, which I hope you are, I think it's such a big medium, not to get lost in the abyss of what's happening in social media, but to remember to be social and connect with people so they can get to know, like, and trust you. And when you give, remember to ask. And I'm going to ask you in a moment for something, but remember to give, ask. And why do you do that? Because that's the way it is. If you're out there selling, it's like a turn off to people. Give value, then ask, and always remember to follow up. What I've just shared with you is really about how to implement Mastery to Millions. We touched upon the mindset, taking massive action, and modeling, and know there's even more that we need to do to get there. And whether it be through Mastery to Million or the 6 figures plus and all the things we need to do, when you start implementing things, you'll see unbelievable results. Dr. Terry White had done that, where we just looked at her business and found, one, we had to change her prices. We had to raise them because of what was going on. We had to change how she was marketing. She was doing too much a la carte versus full service. So we had to model some success, used a proven system. Within less than 10 days, she actually generated $21,000. And this is with new patients, not one she had. In a month, she made over $45,000. That was more than she had made in 6 months. Same thing with Vinu. Lisa started a leadership academy for nurses, did her first event, and the numbers just showed, had 6 people show up for a strategy session. She got 5 new clients. Potential is there, and these are all now during COVID. I want you to hear that. Lisa did this during COVID. And I always say, when you hear excuses, I don't want to hear excuses. Every excuse for why you can't is a reason to me of why you can. If I share anything with you that you're saying, this is what I want, and you're ready to invest in yourself and your business, and you want to take it to the next level, I'm going to offer the first 5 people who take action a free strategy session with me. It's a $750 value. Go to Call with Lisa. I'm going to have you fill out an application. If I feel like I can actually serve you and help make a difference in your business, we'll have our call. And I'll look forward to making you a statistic as well, one that actually is succeeding in times when other people think there's adversity. Because know that everything is possible and that any limitation is the only limitation you're putting on yourself. So I look forward to helping you build your business and yourself. And I thank you for being here. And I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
Thank you. Fantastic. Came away with so much. It was very enlightening, and I think a lot of us can relate of that mindset that we're like, we can't do anything. It's COVID. We're just going to let things ride as they are, or whatever. We'll wait this out, and there's no business out there. I think we've all heard it all that stuff. So it was great. I had a question. So, and I think this is true of many of us. We build relationships through networking, in-person networking. And it is very hard now to do that. I find it very difficult to do that when you are online instead of meeting people in person. Can you give us any tips on what would be an approach to building relationships? And you talked about touch points. Some of our touch points were in person. How do we accommodate that?
Awesome. Well, here's the truth. I built my business to a 7-figure business online, and I did it just like we are right now, having conversations here. So what I've actually done with people is I just give them my link. I'll say, here, let's set up a 15-minute chat, have my little coffee, I don't have coffee, my little tea or water, and we have a little chat, just get to know people. Realize that this actually has given us more opportunities than less. It saves us time in commuting. We don't have to go out very far. You can dress half your body is what people are doing today is kind of the joke, just dress from the halfway up. And I think it's really a mindset. And that's really what ends up happening. I have seen all my clients who didn't think they can do business online are killing it now online just by changing that mindset of this is an opportunity. They're getting into more meetings, more networking events than they ever had because it's easy to get to them. There's more available. If you go on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll find all these different events that used to be only local or regional that have become more national. So if your business warrants that, you can spread your business even further. My company, because the internet has gone global, I have customers in Sweden, in Australia, Canada, everywhere in the world. And it's because there is no limitation today. So I think that becomes one, a mindset, and two, really having a pointed direction that you really want to do that, Nina. Like you're saying, this is my goal. I'm going to get up today. I'm going to get into a networking thing every day. And then who can you connect with? And also the other thing is who can you add value to? I think that that's one of the biggest things is that if you can add value to people, I'm constantly finding people that, now I know what you do. I'm like, okay, well, this person's needed or Robert's needed for this, or, someone will benefit from Laura. When we learn what other people do and we have that, remember I said, give, ask, have that give, ask mentality of who can I serve. It doesn't always come back from who you're giving it to, but it comes another way. 35% of my business has grown through referrals. So think about even who you can be servicing that's already a client that can refer you to other people for you to connect with online, right? Who you can have conversations with, who you can do a discovery call or strategy session with. Think about stuff like that.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful.
My pleasure.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I think what we'll do is we will go back to networking in a minute. Feel free to network with Lisa at one of the tables. Be sure that your camera and mic are on. I want to also let everyone know about Friday's event. Mandy DeGennaro, who's on this call, is going to be talking to us about, along with Robert Campy, about staying and feeling healthy even as the weather gets colder, and we're staying inside even more than we are now. So be sure to join us for that. That's Friday at 10 o'clock. And let's go back to networking. And again, I'd like to thank PSE&G for sponsoring today's event. And again, thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. It was really good. Thanks.
Thank you. My pleasure.